Americans of Reddit, what is your opinion on switching to the metric system? What difference does it make when Big Tape Measure is lobbying with tens of dollars to keep inches, so they don't have to paint more lines? My persuasive speech in high school speech class was about why we should convert. This was 20 years ago. I got a good grade, but people loved multiplying and dividing by 25.4 apparently. Edit. I program CNC for medical device components. Well over half the drawings I see are metric. Machines are programmed in imperial. Many conversions back and forth between inches and millimeters. It's so freaking annoying. Hey American men, your dick sounds bigger in centimeters. Conversion happens tomorrow. If that means rounding up a 32 ounces beer to 1 liter, then yes please. 12 centimeters long penis sounds much more impressive. I'm in. As long as we can add fucked in as a unit. Reports say a man in CA was mugged, and they beat him within millimeters of his life. Metric system is miles ahead. Americans will never accept a foreign ruler. Edit. Thank you all for the upvotes and accolades. Bald eagle screech. The metric system is the tool of the devil. My car gets 40 ruds to the hogshead and that's the way I likes it. Not moving an inch. I would fucking love to do that. It is a lot easier to work with. As far as the country as a whole switching, I would be fine with the UK method of using both imperial and metric to save on having to entirely revamping everything. The metric system is the official measurement system of the US. It has been since the early 1980s. However, it wasn't actually put into practice because we've already been using the imperial system for so long that changing everything over would cause trouble to the infrastructure. Like someone else already said, it's the equivalent of forcing a new language onto society because it's now the official language of this country. I'm fine with it, but a larger priority is getting rid of that damn daylight savings time. I think the world needs to move to base 12. Problem solved. The US tried to convert back in the 70s, but everyone bitched about it. I'm all in for switching. It would be really nice to go to literally any other country and understand size and speed. Edit. Thanks for my first silver stranger. And yes, I personally can do the conversions and understand it's not that difficult, but lots of Americans can't be bothered. I think it's one of those things where on paper it makes sense to use metric, but it'll never happen because of the trouble to switch. Not only infrastructure-wise but people understanding-wise. It would like changing our language because there is another one that is easier once you learn it. The people who need to use it, the academic community, already do. But the imperial system is so deeply ingrained in American culture I can't ever see it going away. If there was a real, concerted effort by the government and several private enterprises, the NFL, car manufacturers, construction companies and suppliers, then maybe, but it would cost billions of dollars and there is little financial incentive to do so. Even if there were gains to be made in the long run, corporations only seem to look a quarter or two ahead in the long run. Miles Davis sounds way better than kilometers Davis. I would if decimeters were more commonly used because the gap between meters and centimeters is too much. I don't really care either way. I find it weird that people obsess over it unless it actually affects your day-to-day life. I see why it's annoying if you're dealing with scientific calculations. I am a member of the Atlanta, Georgia City Council and I just had the lady try to schedule a meeting with us about officially changing to the metric system for all city functions. She tried and tried to confer with us but ultimately we wouldn't meet her. For science. Yes. Yes. 1,000 fucking times yes. I'm sick of converting imperial to metric and thermo. Pisses me off. However, the imperial system is so ingrained into everyday life that honestly, I'm more comfortable with it like this. Oh Jesus, this again. I'm a tradesman and machinist regularly working in US standard units and occasionally metric. Each has their strengths and weaknesses depending on what you're trying to do. Most computation is done on a calculator today, so you're just hitting buttons and reading the answer anyway. If you can't figure out how to do whatever task you're doing in both, you probably shouldn't be doing it. The exception to this is estimation, because being accurate at that depends on your familiarity with the system this year. If you think I'm going to switch from football fields per obese child, think again. As an American, I'm all for switching to the metric system and adopting the pricing rules other countries have, where taxes included in the goddamn advertised price for products. In general I wouldn't care, but you'd have to pry my Fahrenheit from my cold, dead hands. C degrees are too big. As a carpenter, no thanks. I use it all the time for hobby stuff, and it makes so much damn sense. I would gladly switch for everything if I could start thinking in it. Doesn't really make any difference to most of us, but it's pretty low on the list of things we need to fix here. I wouldn't lose sleep on it, but the people who have to replace the signs will. There is one sign off I-24 in Tennessee that reads 24 miles or 40 kilometers, and that's good enough for me, beaming face with smiling eyes. We already use it for all useful applications. I honestly believe that we should switch to the metric system for measuring distance specifically. It is amazing at doing that, and it makes it really accurate. But I also believe that we should keep the Fahrenheit temperature when it comes to weather and medical. Fahrenheit was built on what the human body feels, not how the water feels. It also sounds a lot nicer to say that the human body should remain around 100 degrees, rather than 23, whatever the Celsius measure is. Asking this question on Reddit will give you a completely different answer than the country at large. It's like asking if Americans think statues of Edison should be torn down and replaced with Tesla. How do you feel about switching to the standard system? It'd be annoying having to get used to it, but it'd be better for everybody if we did, lol, so I'm in. Just do it already. If measurements are consistent across the whole Earth, then it's easier for everyone, and it's one more thing we have in common. Do it. I would do it, but it would take a while to get used to it. We are inching closer to it. What would be the point? What we've got works fine. Metric system and the fucking international fixed calendar. Would you kindly? 28 days per month. 13 months per year. With one free day just hanging off the calendar as a party day. Yes, please. No more guessing the day shit. 1. Groceries. We already have 5L, 1L, 2L and even 3L. Because fat America. Soda bottles. Also, all products on a supermarket shelf have metric units on theme, as you're switching the sizes makes everyone's recipes wrong. So they won't do that. So, basically, it's already done. 2. Science. All science already uses metric units. Done. 3. Drugs. All legal and illegal drugs already use metric units. Done. 4. Building. Buildings are a mishmash. But freedom. So no matter what you call it, you can't prevent people from continuing to use imperial boards, sockets, etc. 2. Gasoline. Even Europe uses MPG. So clearly that's here to stay no matter what. Could we change all road signs to metric? We could. But what a massive waste of time and money. And speed limits would be weird to get used to. UK didn't change roads, so probably won't happen. 3. Height and weight. Height in cm would take getting used to, but I suppose people could within a generation. Also, Technically weight in kilogram is actually mass. So that's pretty dubious if you ask me. Would screw up boxing, MMA weight classes, as well as some other things. Plus, even people in metric countries weigh themselves in stones and other measurements that are way stupider than pounds. 7. Temperature. Could we switch to Celsius? We could. But most Americans feel like it isn't as granular and doesn't have the same meaning. 0 is freezing and 100 is boiling sound good. But standard temperatures of 25, 35 and 40 seem not to be granular enough to me. It's good for the kids, bad for me because I don't want to relearn and memorize it. So I am really bad with math and distances and measuring as things are now, so I'd imagine it's still bad at it. So not much would change for me. You can suck my star-spangled dick. All for it. As someone who's never been good at math, even simple arithmetic, a system that's evenly divided by tens makes total sense to me. Yes, please. I'm sick of trying to teach my kids how many ounces are in a gallon, or seconds in a mile, or whatever it is that they use to measure these stupid things. I am a huge advocate for the metric system. I work with metric system at work because it is more precise and way easier to convert. It is absurd that we haven't, just because it's the way we've done it for years. Imperial system can die, and that's saying it nicely. As a British person, don't you dare try and take my pine away from me. It's used in the science community, but there's really no point in switching for other things. Would cause more issues than it solves. I don't think we need it. I fail to see how the metric system is more accurate than the imperial one. The results using both systems are still the same, and the results are still the same. I'm not American, but in ye old times in Denmark, we also used miles. If you measure your dick in centimeters instead of inches, it sounds bigger. Me and my 7.6 centimeters dick is all for the switch. Just do it already. Do it fucking now. Sounds easy enough, but the problem is there will always be the issue of if the building or object was made in imperial times. I'm fine with it. After a period of confusion with a little added mayhem and horror here and there, it should work out for the best. As a Canadian tradesman, I'm against the US converting to metric. I work in metric and imperial and 100% prefer thinking in inches instead of centimeters. I find it way easier to approximate measurements and visualize things in fractions. So much easier to say an inch to the left than about 25 millimeters to the left. Working on engines. Service literature for equipment that's been around for decades, usually in a dirty old paper shop manual, is all in inches. It's super confusing doing a valve lash adjustment when you're used to grabbing a 0.020 feeler gauge, and a stupid European engine calls for a 0.50 m. Monsieur. Go to the lumber yard and get me some 8 feet 2x4s versus get me some 2,440 38x89s. They only teach metric in public schools here. It's all fine and dandy because it's easier to learn, but it's honestly a shit measurement system for hands-on type work.